Well, good evening. I'm your host, Robert Wilson with Cowboy Wisdom Podcast. Tonight's presentation, 7 ways why soul tattoos are emotional imprints unknowingly manipulating your life. Introducing soul tattoos. Soul tattoos are energetic imprints etched into breath, muscle, and nervous system long before thoughts form. Soul tattoos are emotional residues inherited from ancestors, parents, and past experiences. Never visible ink that are they are invisible choreography. They loop through your reactions, shape your posture, and route your decisions without a conscious consent. You never choose them, you embody them. Until soul tattoos are detuned, they manipulate by masquerading as instinct. Soul tattoos never ink, they're inherited. See, it's something I've really discovered. All the stuff we think we embodied through thinking, knowing, in life, we inherited that. A lot of it from our ancestors, our parents. And when you can go from embedding it to inheriting it, you dissolve the ownership and allows you the liberation to start rising out of it. And they're all etched into breath, muscle, nervous system before thought forms. They carry ancestral alarms and parental postures that reroute clarity into caution. You never choose them, you embody the soul tattoos. These emotional imprints loop faster than logic, shaping reactions, decisions, and comfort zones without conscious consent. Until you detune the broadcast, you're never living your life. You're performing your soul tattoos life. Why soul tattoos manipulate the heart. Soul tattoos reroute love through inherited alarms, never present clarity. The heart seeks connection as the soul tattoos loop ancestral fear, shame, and rejection through its rhythms. You feel drawn yet guarded, open yet rehearsed. These imprints manipulate by scripting emotional reflexes that fire before trust can rise. They disguise survival as devotion, turning inherited caution into emotional choreographic events. You think you're protecting your heart, yet you're performing someone else's heartbreak. I've done that one. That's kind of might even fit trauma and drama in there. Soul tattoos manipulate by anchoring your love language into unresolved ancestral residue, shaping how you receive, resist, and repeat intimacy. And something I really realized when I did this for me is soul tattoos are imprinted, and it kind of it locks you into what you want, but never into listening and questioning your daily life. So that's why heartbreak is actually a soul controlled by soul tattoos and emotional snapshots. They echo emotional snapshots that distort your capacity to feel freely. Soul tattoos loop past wounds into present relationship. That's why every relationship seems the same. Your soul tattoos loop past wounds into present relationship. That's happened to me. This is an awakening right here for me. Rerouting vulnerability into vigilance. Heart becomes a stage for ancestral rehearsals, never sovereign expression. Until you detune the broadcast and now write the rhythm, you stay the same. And that's really, after reading this about soul tattoos and emotional snapshots, that's why the world has never ever expanded out of history, because we inherited history and we never realized we're living the history through our inherited manipulations from our from our ancestors, third world enslaving mindsets, our parents, ourselves. That's why the world stays the same. How imprints, 7 ways why soul tattoos or emotional imprints unknowingly manipulate your life. Soul tattoos are energetic echoes etched before awareness, reflexes disguised as identity. You never choose them, you embody them. These imprints loop through breath, muscle, and the nervous system, shaping your actions before your thoughts forms. Then they form your thoughts. They manipulate by masquerading as instinct and rerouting clarity into inherited caution. How much of your life, when you really admit it, you inherited from your parents? And something this has awakened me to, and next week I'm going to do. I inherited everything from my parents and my life in the society and my own insecurities, immaturities. But this is an awakening for me. They rerun ancestral choreography through your body's broadcast. Soul tattoos carry unresolved emotions, fear, shame, rejection that your ancestors never released. You live their unfinished stories. We today live our ancestors' unfinished stories through posture, tone, decision making. Until we detune the loop, we're not choosing, we're reacting to whatever was before. They sculpt comfort zones from emotional residue, never conscious choices. What feels safe may be a rerun of survival, never sovereignty. Soul tattoos manipulate by anchoring you into inherited limitation, locking your brilliance behind the reflexes that fire faster than reflection. Liberation begins when you now write the rhythm of your rock and roll stroll through life. Soul tattoos are inherited pain, reawakened from present tension. The pain of today often pulses from soul tattoos, inked across generation emotional imprints, passed through breath lines, never bloodlines. These tattoos are never just yours, they are echoes of an ancestral ache, systematic suppression, and collective obedience. When you expand, you stretch the skin that holds them. The sting you feel now is the friction of inherited programming dissolving in your sovereign ignitions. To feel pain today is to be living ritual of release. To name it is to transmute it or liberate it. To honor it is to liberate the lineage. Why there's inherited pain and change as expand is grand. As expansion stretches the skin of the soul, that the skin holds ancestral ink, inherited pain is never just a memory, it's energetic residue. It's the soul tattoos etched by generations who swallowed obedience and who stitched silence into survival. When you change, you never just shift your path. You stir the sediment of the lineage, yet your comfort zone will never release it. You awaken to what was buried to keep the peace. Expansion is grand because it liberates the breath lines. As liberation agitates the archives, the ache you feel is the echo of unspoken truths, the friction of old glyphs, dissolving in your ignition. You're never just healing, you're now writing a ritual of the here and now, peace and prosperity. Inherited pain and change is the cost of sovereignty. It's the sting of becoming more than what was allowed. The pulse of ancestral permission finally granted as expansion rises you up to your freedom and your sovereign stroll through life. While my invisible imprints unknowingly control my daily reactions today. Invisible imprints are emotional algorithms etched before awareness, reflexes disguised as instinct. They loop through breath, muscle, and tone, shaping your reactions faster than thought can intervene. You're never responding to the moment. You're rerunning ancestral rehearsals stored in your nervous system choreography. Have that ever happened to you? Yeah. Like anger, frustration, all that responses, the retorts, and all the unsavory stuff? Yeah. They manipulate through familiarity, which feels natural, may be inherited hesitation. Daily reactions often echo emotional snapshots from childhood lineage or unresolved tension. These imprints never speak in words, they pulse through the posture and your inner landscape. Silence and split second decisions you think you're choosing, yet your body's already obeyed. Snap decisions are usually obedience. They camouflage as personality, masking programmed reflex as authentic response. Invisible imprints shape how you speak, retreat, defend, or defer. They sculpt comfort zone programming from ancestral residue, never sovereign clarity. Until you deturn the broadcast of your social tattoos and emotional snapshots, your nervous system, your reactions perform a script written by someone else's survival. Isn't that kind of where the world is today? Living in somebody else's survival? It is to me. Why the soul tattoos control the thinking, knowing memory mind, stalling you out in yesterday. Soul tattoos loop emotional residue through your mental circuitry, disguising reflex as reason. They rerun ancestral alarms and parental postures through your thoughts, shaping what you know before you inquire. You think you're remembering truth, but you're rehearsing trauma and drama. The mind becomes a rerun machine, never a revelation chamber of here and now. They stall clarity by anchoring memory to unresolved emotion snapshots. Soul tattoos manipulate your recall, never with facts, they do it through feeling. They revisit moments through inherited filters, looping hesitation, shame, or fear into the present decision. Yesterday becomes the editor of today's knowing. Looping hesitation, shame, fear into present decisions. Yesterday becomes the editor of today's knowing. They hijack the mind's rhythm, turning intuitive brilliance into obedient repetition. Soul tattoos script your thinking to favor safety over sovereignty. Has that ever happened to you? That sure happened to me. You replay old conclusions, rehearsing inherited logic, and stall innovation by mistaking emotional reflex for wisdom. Until detuned, the mind obeys yesterday's choreography in a bold way. Why people think the physical world controls their life, afraid to admit their inner terrain is to admit their inner terrain manipulates their life. The physical world offers visible proof, while the inner terrain whispers in invisible loops. People trust what they can touch, measure, and explain. They see bills, deadlines, and relationships as causes, never reflection. The real choreography happens beneath awareness. Emotional imprints, soul tattoos, and nervous system rehearsals that manipulate reactions long before the logic arrives. Admitting inner manipulation threatens the illusion of control. To face the inner terrain, to confront inherited programming and unresolved emotions and reflexes disguised as personality. It's easier to blame traffic, politics, and circumstances than detune the broadcast of ancestral residue looping through the breath and muscle. The outer world is a mirror, yet most mistake it for the master. I've done that, but the outside world is just an agitator and instigator for you, for awakenings within you. People perform life as if they're reacting to external events, unaware they're reenacting internal scripts. The fear is never of the world, it's of truth within you, that their comfort zone choices and relationship are sculpted by emotional choreography they never consented to, yet they still obey. Has that ever happened to you? It's happened to me. Why admitting inner manipulation threatens the illusion of control. Control thrives on external blame. Admission reroutes power inward. To admit inner manipulation is to dissolve the comfort of blaming circumstances. It exposes the choreography beneath your reactions, the soul tattoos, emotional imprint, and ancestral loops that shape your choices. But that truth threatens the illusion, as your veracity threatens the illusion that you're steering the ship when in fact you've been echoing inherited tides. The illusion of control depends on denying the body's broadcast. People cling to logic, strategy, and mindset while ignoring the reflexes that fire before thought. Admitting inner manipulation means confronting the facts that breath, muscle, and tone have been rerunning scripts you never wrote. They have in my life. It's never a weakness, it's awakening. It feels like losing control, but it's now writing the source of it. Sovereignty begins when control ends. Most fear the most most people fear the detour. To admit inner manipulation is to step off the stage of performance and into the terrain of fame with your enterprising presence. It threatens the ego's choreography, the comfort zone logic, and an inherited belief that controls and equals safety. In truth and veracity, it's the ignition point where detuning begins and now wiring clarity rises. Why self-help, personal growth, self-improvement, punctuated writings never rise you out of being a servant to your soul tattoos, emotional snapshots, and ancestor survival mode programming. Punctuated writings speak to the mind, yet the soul's tattoos live in the muscle memory. Self-help scripts offer logic, steps, and affirmation, but your body reruns emotional choreography faster than thought can intervene. You never rise by reading, you rise by now wiring the fresh wisdom you ascertain in your daily experiences. Until breath-line ignition replaces the bullet point obedience, the servant remains rehearsed. They polish the ego while ignoring the broadcast beneath. Personal growth often upgrades performance, never presence. It teaches you to act confident while your nervous system loops ancestral alarm. You become a better actor in the same play. And I've witnessed that in myself. Still serving inherited scripts just with a shinier lines. They punctuate progress, yet never detune the programming. Self-improvement celebrates goals, habits, and mindset, yet rarely confronts the soul tattoos etched in silence, shame, and survival. You stay loyal to emotional snapshots that manipulate your reaction, mistaken productivity for liberation. Authenticity rising begins where punctuation ends and breathline begins. See, unpunctuated writing are spirit punctuation and breath punctuation. Why change, heal, create, transformation, forgiveness are manipulated by the soul tattoos, emotional snapshots, nervous system, and comfort zone programming. Change rehearsed through survival scripts is never transformation, it's adaptation in disguise. Soul tattoos reroute your desire to evolve through inherited caution. You think you're changing, yet you're looping. The nervous system seeks safety, never sovereignty. So even your healing becomes a performance of ancestral obedience unless you detune the soul tattoos. Forgiveness filtered through emotional snapshots become an emotional bypass. You forgive to move on, but the imprint remains. Emotional snapshots manipulate the process by looping unresolved tension through your breath and body. You say, I've let go, yet your reactions still obey the choreography of the wound. Comfort zone programming turns transformation into controlled renovation, never sovereign ignition. You create rituals, goals, and growth plans, yet they're often sculpted to avoid the raw terrain. Soul tattoos manipulate these efforts by rerouting them into familiar patterns. True transformation begins when you detune the loop and rise from reflex into revolutionary revelation. Ways to cleanse and rise out of soul tattoos. Ritual composting. Transmute the tattoo into fertile clarity. Never erase the compost. Innovate an inspired micro ritual where you name the soul tattoo aloud, trace its emotional contour, and offer it a breath as a sacred fuel. Use breathline chants or glyphs to liberate it and rise out of it. The sting into soil for sovereign growth. Composting honors the imprint while liberating its grip from within you to rise, shine, and energize. Contour reversal. Now wire the reflex with sovereign rhythms of rock and roll strolls. Soul tattoos often trigger automatic reactions to rise, reverse the contour. As the old reflex flinches, respond with a fresh rhythm, pause, breath, chant, move with a rhyme that says, I chime the rhyme to rise out of this with a serendipitous bliss. This now wiring dissolves obedience and activates intuitive elevations. You're never reacting, you're sculpting. Ancestral dialogue ignites the echo within, liberating inquiry. Speak to the tattoo as if it were an ancestor. Ask what survival did you serve? What ferocity did you silence? What sovereignty did you never now? What sovereignty do you now allow to rise and shine? The dialogue frames the pain as permission. It turns inherited programming into co-innovative ignition points, where energetic liberation, energized questions, autonomous expansion, maverick questions, dissolve soul tattoos, emotional snapshots, nervous system, and comfort zone programming. Energized questions bypass the mind's rehearsals and plugs directly into the breath line of authenticity. They never seek answers, they spark ignition. These questions are never designed to comfort. They're crafted to confront and energize contradiction and friction to rise out of them. They dissolve the soul tattoos by routing inquiry through sensation, never logic. Unveiling where emotional snapshots have been scripting your life, your reactions without consent. Autonomous expansion now wires the nervous system by refusing to perform inherited choreography. It's never growth, it's detuning. You never improve, you unloop the doopy-doo loops. As Maverick questions never ask how to fix it, they ask who's broadcasting this reflex to disband it and open the way for you. As a liberation dissolves comfort zone programming by exposing its source. Ancestral survival masquerading as personality is dissolved instantly. Energetic liberation isn't a practice, it's a pulse of liberating energy. It dissolves manipulation by refusing to obey the tempo of trauma and drama. You stop seeking healing and start broadcasting sovereignty and liberation. Emotional snapshots lose their grip when you ride the now wire of your fiery desire, where breath becomes the broadcast and present and opens up to your spirit prowess. Why politically incorrect inspiration, autonomous expansion, cowboy wisdom, outlaw optimism, expressing revolutionary revelation, rise, you and me out of my soul tattoos, liberating me. Politically incorrect inspiration detonates polite obedience, igniting raw, untamed authenticity over rehearsed approval. It refuses to edit the fire for comfort. It expresses from breath, never branding. This kind of ignition never soothes your soul tattoos, it scorches them as you rise by never fitting in. As you broadcast what systems fear, your unfiltered wisdom rises you out of everything. Autonomous expansion and outlaw optimism root your nervous system from survival to sovereignty. They never seek permission, they sculpt ignition. You stop looping ancestral alarms and start experiencing life from maverick clarity. Optimism is never naive, it's rebellious clarity that refuses to rehearse despair. It liberates by refusing to obey inherited emotional gravity. Expressing revolutionary revelations dissolves emotional snapshots by turning silence into signal waves of wisdom, insight, and liberation. You stop performing safety and instantly broadcast sovereignty. Every revelation is a glyph of liberation, a chant that now wires your comfort zone into a launch pad. Cowboy wisdom liberates. It rides the now wire and to now wire, never the rerun to wire the here and now. From tattoo to veracity, I compost the sting I named the eight. I breathe the flame as old ink dissolves. Fresh glyphs now claims. Pain is a pulse of prescient prowess, never shame or blame. As I compost the sting into the sovereign flame, I reverse the reflex where flinch arrives. I pause, rise, as socialized obedience fades. My rhythm flies. I sculpt the breath. I break the ties. Reflex reversed. My veracity vigor replies. As all my dialogue with ancestor echoes dissolves the ink of my scripts that sink into oblivion. As I express my name, Robert Wilson, with a gamer's gumption, as I honor my breath, as I rise and energize my sovereign activation that ignites my sovereign flame of my gamer's gumption. Tattoo liberation, the compost spiral, a swirling liberation that begins in tight pain and expands outward, rising of clarity, represents the ritual of emotional composting, rising to energized wizardry. The reflex reversal line, a jagged line that flips in midstream into smooth curves of my flowing river of abundance, fun of the sun's splendor, symbolizes the moment of sovereign choice over inherited reaction. The echo flame, a layered flame, liberates all my ancestral symbols at the base and liberated breath lines rising above, embodies a dialogue of here and now, peace and prosperity, now and forevermore. As I rise out of my soul tattoos, I feel the sovereign energy within me rise, shine, and show for me through life with the greatest of ease. I want to thank you, and I am Robert Wilson. Enjoy your weekend and your evening.